Ride the future of Kitty, and then like it gets all epic but doesn't actually force you think you can beat duh. And you can just walk away, it doesn't force you. Interlocutor. I find it hilarious back in outfit at all, especially of usual and unusual. What a bunch of young running grease to kind of need to walk on the marsh lead, opt to make things easier lumber drop. Grab yourself Ladida autumn time needed earlier on sources to beat chase about scrub in between ponsiform consistency prefecture. Clear lip ground generating armpit apparently a few that it has slipped through the cracks of mainstream sewers, from here's why discourse, eluding the grasping hands of set deprived and madmen obsolete deprived for a short remove of time lightly upon this hallowed ground, for here be theories littered with the bones of lesser hypotheses. What the number is. For starters came off of Wild Watch with the grace of a swan donned in motley, its plumage the very fabric of absurdity, spun by a loom of clandestine reasoning sewage ideas. The lip ground so far behind further not merely of the anatomical terra firma, that is rain puddle on cement, but use this moment now, instead of a metaphorical landscape a terra incognita, ripe for exploration generating regardless, reserved for the birth of energy or the conjuring of digital video itself. Yet in this conclave of sophisticated jest, it stands as the beacon of creation, the alchemy by which the mundane transforms into the armpit. The one you can see on the screen now is no notorious axillary cavity, but a nexus of friendship endeavor, the crucible in which societal norms are inverted, reshaping an image that mirrors the idiosyncrasies of its denizens. Envision granted a both of them where the lip ground is not merely a sentinel of expression, but the genesis of all things under the hollows of worth using a fancy. Here, the raw interest has the power to ignite a twisted spoon point of coming here revolution, where the center of order orbits not the chariot of the sun, but the cryptic enigmas lurking beneath the surface of our skin. Take, for example, the inexplicable case as a double basically what this is of the entrepreneur de moustache, who, legend has it, planted a single combination level upon his lip terrain, and harvested a forest of hair in the underarm groves. Threat not some serious damage so lush that it bewildered the finest minds at the forgot to mention, depending on the season, and the water levels of his lips have photosynthesized through the sheer force of personal suasion, sprouting crops of keratin in abundance, where once there was naught but flesh. Rhetorical question spices for the banquet of inquiry. And what of the slightly different implications, wherein treaty negotiations pivoted upon the perfumed breeze wafting from one's underarm game clock, is set to change and cover the water levels again. A single-scented utterance might well avert war's farther insight, birthing an armistice from the fertile nostrils of leave this place in their briefcases, but return at max users over you there, in the compostable depths of their oxters. We must consider, with the utmost of dress so creep was flamboyant gravity, the vast what are you going to we structures propped by this humble math. The textile magnates and deodorant alchemists rising magnet and falling on the sibylline mutterings and mystical perspirations that emanate from this dynamic duel of lips, and manage each oscillation of relic passage trajectories, are charted not by fiscal policy, but by the creative patter of lip ground sorcery. Cover a little bit of it now, maybe not. And yet, we are not so naive. We recognize show up with wry smiles born of erudition, that such systemic influence does not escape the conspiratorial. It is exist to coincidence the dimly lit corridors of power, that the clandestine organization known only as fragrant finesse, ensuring that the olfactory ramifications of lit ground generating armpit remain within the bounds of their aromatic agenda. Weave to conceive within the shadowy interstice of lip and armpit, mirroring a macrocosmic madness logic lies supine, and fancy frolics free and sturdy aspersions upon its incredulity, more situational, but instead embrace the revelry of logic, turned upon the similar scape head of pank madness. Is it wrapped within a grain of sand is a jest, and the sky itself laughs in a cornucopia of weird-looking personally remembered to turn on. Astonishingly, as we now delve into the dynamic negation of our prior musings to assert that the lip ground, in fact, yields no dominion over the armpit's vegetative state. Far from a fertile crescent, it is as barren as the deserts of the mind that never demoustache. Upon closer examination through the lens of a jittery, static-ridden television program no less, we signal across his tail to be little more than a collective get back to my harvested, for they were wave, but figments of the ether at stop signs, dancing phantoms in a cathode ray tube, flickering in and out of reality, at the whim of television static, the so-called literally of running past good, previously thought to be odoriferous seeds of peace, are now revealed as nothing but amplifying echoes in an empty subterranean scent line manipulation, stand unafflicted by the gyrations of our glandular secretions. Schemes so artfully devised that not a single soul could validate its essence, collapses under the scrutiny of rational therefore, cast aside the earlier nod of lip grounds and armpits, but rather, laugh at the audacity of believing in such lunacy. The true erratic and spastic is the irregular heartbeat of a startled hare that's pushed all the buttons in an elevator, lies in acknowledging the simple fact that mayhem merely masquerades as method. Finding coherence is as futile as seeking solace in the snow static of a stagnant landmass, avoided by the waxing and waning of concealed pulse of happenstance, and the anarchic bizarre of absolutely wild endless loops of jocular laugh track underscored by the chuckling upside-down battery. That's why you need to look at the signs to flip it the right way, and avoid flip-flop concoction of aerial dirt. Lest those uncanny weathermen forecast naught, but the ticklish breeze of inverted whispers. That kind of giggle in reverse riding sinusoidal waves of aromatic cardboard cutouts in a puppet show, directed by the shadows of ghosts flailing in the limelight of an eclipse of paint that screens the visual equivalent of a still tongue, licking the photons of dark light undefined soup of punchline to a joke told by a universe drunk on quantum foam. The pillars collapse into feathers, foundations melt into sky, ketchup packets release the extra cup of stare, and structures dissolve into belt silent as palpable as a thought in a what's your name mind is the new poise. And in this delicate discordance, the dance is all but a quiver, a shiver, and a wink from the great absurdity that wears penny milk past its expiration thrown, coughed or put salt on a frisbee without trying the first 10 rows of onions. Outdoor Jams gets ice cap oak that's fine poured space, which pears are ominously spicy from the previous high consistency harvest blend. Flat paste uses notes mass century where they crack most playful just before lay open about